Hello, everyone, and welcome to I Never Knew podcast with Life Coach Maureen. I am Maureen Scanlon, your host. I'm so excited for today's guest. If you have ever struggled in your life with anything, all of our guests bring their story, their experience, and their knowledge and help forward to help you. And that's what this podcast is all about. We're here to help one another and grow this community. So today I have a fabulous guest, and I'm so happy that we connected because I think her topic is so important. And we were just talking offline, and I was saying, it's such a sensitive subject that not a lot of people want to talk about it. Well, she wrote an entire book on it, and we're going to talk about her book and how to get to it. But I want to tell you about her. Her name is Erica Hoke. She is a US based fertility empowerment coach focusing on empowerment, detoxing, and education. 12 years ago, excuse me, she was told she would never have children. And guess what? She has 4. She had miracles, and she had infertility issues that were endometriosis stage 4, uterine fibroids, ovarian cysts, PCOS, and hypothyroidism factor 5 Leiden. I'm actually familiar with that. I worked in a laboratory for 26 years. So she went to fertility doctors, and she really didn't get a very good diagnosis. She was 35. She was hyperovulating and not a candidate for IVF, which I know a lot of us think that's the cure for everything. You can go in and you can do IVF and they'll fix everything. But there are situations where that's not the answer. And she's going to tell us more about that. But the important thing is that she's going to talk to us about ways to counter the infertility and how important it is, the food you eat, the products you use on your skin, your laundry detergent, your makeup. Oh, that's interesting. Everything. So she started finding healthier chemical-free solutions, went on organic, on all protein, and threw out her bath and body products. Oh no, but okay,
Yeah.
I'm on board. I'm on board.
Yeah.
And started acupuncture 3 times a week. And then one day she got positive. So she ended up getting pregnant. So this is such a fabulous story. Welcome, Miss Erica.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
I am so happy to have you here. I'm already just reading, the bio. It's like, oh my gosh, all this stuff I never knew, which is so pertinent to this podcast and this conversation. So we always start off with your story. So tell us. I obviously read it, but coming from you and the emotions behind it, tell us how it felt. What was going on?
Yeah. So you gave all my cliffhangers away, Maureen. But at 35, I did consider that IVF was going to be my plan B, my backup plan. As you said, I had 7 different diagnoses. I knew that my fertility journey was going to be potentially difficult. And so my plan B was just what you said. IVF will fix everything, right? Until I went to the fertility doctor and they said, listen, we can't, you're hyperovulating, which meant that they couldn't stimulate me, right? So we've heard that term maybe tossed around the infertility world. They couldn't stimulate me because my body was already cranked up to 10. When they stimulate you, it cranks you up to 10. So I had very few eggs also. So I had diminished ovarian reserve. So that was not a good recipe for IVF at all. And they told me that I would need donor eggs to get pregnant. Now, keep in mind, I've got almost a 14-year-old. He'll be 14 in December. And so things have changed in the reproductive world over those past 15 years. I'm sure you can imagine. But back when I was going through this, donor eggs were not as all the things that you could say about donor eggs. It wasn't as talked about. There wasn't as much information. They weren't as readily available. It just wasn't, it was just in its infancy into coming into the reproductive medical technology world. And on top of that, I really felt strongly that it was for me to have my own biological children. So, of course, I could have taken many different paths, but I set out to, I kind of like threw all my cards down and like went all in. I researched everything that I possibly could research that affects your fertility. And what I found is everything affects your fertility, and lots of things that the doctors were not addressing with me and not talking about at all. And so, as you mentioned, I did acupuncture. I also learned to advocate for myself in the medical community with my doctors to get personalized care, which is something that I strongly emphasize both in my coaching programs and my one on one coaching with my clients, because this is not anti medicine. I want to say that first and foremost. I had lots of surgeries to remove my endometriosis, which was stage 4, as you mentioned, to remove uterine fibroids, which I want to circle back to because that's a really important story. But I worked with my doctors to get personalized care and didn't allow myself to fall into that herd mentality.
Oh, I really can appreciate that. That's something that I say all the time is you can't just take the answers and go on your way and say the doctors know best. You have to really do that research and
Yeah.
advocate for yourself. And I've had to do that many times and I've
Yeah.
advised many people to do that. I love that you say it's not anti-medicine, but the personalized care
Right.
is, and doctors are overwhelmed and sometimes they group us into these sort of generalization categories. They think they know it, but the specialization of our bodies, it's us, we're unique, we're not like everybody else, and getting a doctor to hear that is so important. I'm so happy that you said that.
Yeah.
As a sufferer of endometriosis myself, and believe it or not, I actually my remedy was CBD.
Right.
And so that worked really well for me because I didn't want any more surgeries because it caused more scar tissue, which is more
Mhm.
endometriosis. So all these things were going on. So how did you get all of the diagnosis? I mean, it must have been really exhausting to get all of these tests and really look at what was in front of you, this mountain of things
Yeah.
that you had to address.
Yeah. So my first thing that I wish that I had known, and that you can confirm this for yourself. It took me 13 years to get my endometriosis diagnosis because it can only be diagnosed via surgery.
Yep.
Louder for the people in the back. You're going to have surgery if you are suspect of endometriosis. That's the only way to diagnose it. Now, there's some tools in place, some screenings now that are available that you can get better a better preview that that might be what's happening, but it's still only diagnosed via surgery. So I spent years in agony and misery thinking, well, if they can't tell me I have it, I'm not going to do surgery. And that was wrong thinking on my part. You have to kind of be bold in these decisions if you want to get the care that you need, because by law, it's the only way that they can diagnose you. So your doctor is not going to be able to say those words to you, which was really hard for me. Not going to be able to say you have endometriosis until they do the surgery. So that was my first diagnosis. The second thing that I would say is people make the assumption, and I made the assumption, that when you're diagnosed with something like, for instance, hypothyroidism, and you're trying to get your numbers right. You're trying to get, first of all, thyroid is huge implications for fertility. And that range in the medical community is like a football field long, right? It's huge. So people make, and I made the assumption that my doctor would go back to, say, my pre diagnosis numbers, or track my history and see what that thyroid was doing. And they typically don't do that. I'm not saying no doctor in the world does that, but typically your doctor is not going to take the time to do that. And so it's really important for you to make a chart, write it on a piece of paper, whatever you've got to do to kind of track those tests and see where you were pre-diagnosis, at the beginning of your diagnosis, now where you are, and really tune into how you're feeling. I was still symptomatic, although I was in range, right? They said, you're fine. This is, a good, normal, healthy range for you. But I was still having symptoms of hypothyroidism. And I pushed for an adjustment, which it's always funny to talk about thyroid because it's a high-low thing. I never know if I should say high or low, but they typically don't like to keep you on the dose that I'm on, but that's where my body conceived every single time. Every single time it was a very narrow window around 0.5, which is really high, low. So getting that personalized care and taking the time, not making the assumption that your doctor is going to do that for you is oh so important, because again, thyroid affects hormones and fertility in a huge way.
Wow, everything about that is so important. What you just said is your body. I tell everyone, keep a symptom journal.
Yeah.
And no matter what your illness is, keep a symptom journal, because again, these doctors are going to go to the most generic symptoms and say, are you having these things? You need to keep these additional notes to say, hey, this weird thing happened, or I felt this way. And like you said, once you're on medication, they're like, oh, everything's great, but you
Right.
knew you were still having these symptoms.
Yeah.
And I love that you were so aware of it. And hormones are everything. And so that was your first indication. And a lot of our diagnosis are elimination diagnosis, right? That's what endometriosis is. We're going to eliminate everything else. And just a sidebar for a quick note, when I went in to get an ultrasound for endometriosis, which it doesn't show up, first of all,
Right.
and this is weird that I found this out from the ultrasound tech. She said, it's not just in your uterus. It is not just there. She said she had a patient that had skin endometriosis, eye endometriosis, and my specific symptoms were on my my intestines, my small and large intestines, which is so interesting. I never knew that. And I was diagnosed with endometriosis back, my daughter's 30 now, right after she was born. And they literally told me I couldn't have any more children after her because of the endometriosis. And then my son came along 6 years later with no birth control, nothing.
Right.
So that's interesting that you say that. So let's go to what you figured out. So you got your thyroid taken care of. Did you have
Right.
the surgery for the endometriosis?
I did. I had a very aggressive excise surgery. And I just want to add, talking about endometriosis too, a lot of people will get to the point that I'm glad that you brought up that it can be anywhere in your body, because a lot of people will get to the point, and I understand because it's agonizing, that they have a hysterectomy. It doesn't always fix the problem because the pain it can move anywhere in your body. I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day, and it was another coach, and she said a client of hers had shoulder surgery, and her shoulder always hurt more during her cycle, and she had endometriosis in her shoulder.
Oh my
So
goodness. It's those
yeah,
endometrial cells that can
right.
travel. And the only way that I found that was literally on the internet. And it was a
Yep.
study. It was a study from London.
Right.
And they don't know why. And then I got into the CBD, and they don't know why. They haven't even figured out why there's something with CBD that actually hones in on endometrial cells. So I thought that was really interesting. And it worked for me. And I actually went back to my OBGYN doctor and told her, and she said, I'm going to tell all of my patients going forward.
Yeah.
So, it's this trial and error that from
Right.
our experience, we can help others. So that's interesting in the
Yeah.
shoulder. Wow. See anywhere.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So, my third thing that I wish that I had known, or that I really want people to know, is I had uterine fibroids, also very, very painful. And by the way, all of this disruption in my body was linked to not only hormone disruption, but toxic exposure through personal care products, makeup, all those kind of things are hormone disruptors. And so, hormone and endocrine disruptors, that was the other thing that I was trying to say. And so, with my fibroids, talking about a very like aggressive, all or nothing, like I have to make sure that that I've exhausted all of my options. I actually had two laparoscopic surgeries and a hysteroscopy that showed no fibroids or showed very small fibroids, or they weren't able to remove very much of anything. Again, my symptoms went on. And so I knew that there was no way that nothing was happening in there. I'm in agony during my cycle. I'm vomiting on my first day. I mean, it's my flow is uncontrollable. It was epic. It was intolerable. And in the past, I believe that I would have gotten a hysterectomy, from that, because that would have been, that would have been the medical community's solution. So I pushed for more information about what could be done, and I had a saline ultrasound done, a saline procedure with the laparoscopic, where they actually infuse your uterus with saline. Well, lo and behold, the pressure from the first surgery was pushing all the fibroids into my uterine wall. When they did the saline surgery, they were allowed to float into view in my uterine lining, or you know what I'm saying, cavity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, this is sounding like really medical, but I want people to know, because I could have so easily stopped. That's why I'm telling you this story. I could have so easily been like, well, the doctor said that there's nothing to be done. I'm just going to be over here in agony. If I can't get pregnant, I guess I'll have a hysterectomy because I can't go on like this. So I'm having this surgery. Maureen, they removed so many fibroids from my uterus. It looked like a handful of aquarium gravel. It was a lot. And lo and behold, that fixed the problem. So there's implications. I know when I was going through, this was my thought. Pre-diagnosis of, hey, you're going to need donor eggs. I was terrified that all of that surgery was going to create too much scar tissue in my uterus for me to get pregnant, right?
Yeah.
So it's this balance. It's like, well, if I do that, am I going to be able to get pregnant, or am I causing myself more infertility? Right?
Wow.
But
Yeah.
we have to remember, draw a dot on a piece of paper. And you're talking about your uterus real estate, right? And a dot on the piece of paper, which is your cells in the beginning, the embryo at implantation. There's plenty of room in there. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of places for that little egg and sperm to get implanted. So, yeah, you have to advocate for yourself. You have to ask yourself how far you're willing to go to get the answer you're looking for.
Wow. I do not be sorry about the medical part of
Yeah.
it, because I started in nursing, and
Okay.
I was in the medical field for
Yeah, yeah.
so many years, along with my own personal medical journey. And this is what I wanted. This is what I want for our listeners to hear is not all answers are the answers. You need to take, it's like anything else. When you want to buy a car, you're going to go in and research the gas mileage,
Sure.
the longevity, how the safety regulations are on it, all of that. And I think we need to take that approach. Like you said, I love that you said we went in there and they didn't see anything. How many times, listeners, have you, I know I have, had a procedure or had a test and they say everything looks fine? I just went through this with a heart diagnosis. I literally went through this huge cath procedure, which is a big deal. They're going in there with a
Yeah.
camera in, and my cardiologist said, your arteries are beautiful. And I said, well, thank you, but I'm still having chest pain and palpitations. And literally, the diagnosis I have now is a diagnosis of elimination. Just because they can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Right.
So, this is so good. I
Yeah.
relate so much to what you said. The saline, was it a saline ultrasound you had said?
Yeah. A saline infused ultrasound. Hmm.
Wow, never heard of that in all of my years. A saline infused ultrasound. And there's so many methods too. That's what
Hmm.
gets frustrating, the cost, the
Right.
emotional toll. You almost get to a point where you're like, "Oh, I'll do it, but I'm probably not going to find anything out." You get so discouraged. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the emotional toll, not only the physical toll, you poor thing, but what was that emotional toll for you? Cuz time, you're 35 and you're thinking tick tock, tick tock. How
Right.
much more do I go through and how long? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you have never walked through infertility with yourself or with somebody, every single cycle is literally a death. It's the death of the dream of having that pregnancy that month, and it's very, the roller coaster ride, right? The 2 week wait, where you wait and wonder and are a nervous wreck of, will this be the month? And then the crashing down. And so it's very extreme, the amount of grief that women go through that suffer from infertility is tremendous. And so uh, one of the things that helped with that was actually the acupuncture. I really strongly encourage couples to get in some kind of couples counseling together, because a lot of times what will happen is you'll see uh, the partner shouldering the emotional baggage individually,
Yeah.
right? So the man is trying to support, or the partner is trying to support their their woman, and the woman is trying to shield her partner from having um, any more stress, to the point where, and my book is here behind me. This is actually a book collaboration. Each of the 20 women, and myself included, wrote a chapter, but there were several women during that process and in the chapters that said that they even felt like their husband should divorce them and go find somebody else that could give them a child,
Oh, I mean,
because
just
they
the
could
shame,
see
right?
the shame, the pain, the agony, that they loved their partner so much that they just wanted them to be happy and have somebody that could give them a child. And so there's a lot of that going on in relationships. So um, yeah, it's
That's such a great point. And because I'm a relationship expert and couples coach, it's something I can completely understand, and how we need to get both partners on the same page. And here's one of the biggest problems, whether it's going through the fertility, infertility, or any problem, is those transparent expectations. I don't know what you need
yeah,
me to do. And so really opening up that line of communication and saying, what can I do for you that best will support you and let you release these emotions or deal with these emotions? How do we do this as a team? Because
right.
what you said was, it seemed very separate. I'm going to deal with this part of it over here, and you're going to deal with, he's men want to fix everything and they can't
Yeah,
fix it. And the women are over here like, I don't want to make you feel bad for not fixing it, but I'm dealing with my own view of loss. I love what you said. Every cycle is a death, a roller coaster ride. I
yeah.
could only imagine every single month, just that disappointment of it didn't happen. And that brings us to, how important is our mental health while we're going through infertility?
It's actually paramount. I tell all my clients, if you can't cope, you can't continue. So we have to get some tools in your toolbox so that you can ride this roller coaster safely and not have, it's not that we're not going to feel the emotions and the fallout, but let's put some tools in our toolbox. So one of the things included in my program is something called aroma freedom technique, which is a somatic practice using essential oils. There's EFT tapping. So all this is, tools in your toolbox, so that when you're working and you get up to go to from your desk to the bathroom and you have your period, you're not just trapped in a stall, right? Crying your eyes out. Now I've got to pull myself together somehow, just bootstrap it and go back to work. You have some tools through that EFT, or even mini resets with the EFT, where you can calm your central nervous system down and get some relief, right? It's not about emotional stuffing. We're not just saying like bootstrap it and stuff it down, right? We're trying to give some tools to help our bodies, central nervous system calm down until we can get someplace safe where we can choose to allow
Yeah.
those emotions to come out. So it's super important, and I don't want to overlook this either. One of the key things um, to to me getting pregnant, sorry, or anybody getting pregnant is dealing with emotional trauma from your past. So one of the authors wrote a chapter, and she wasn't able to get pregnant, and there was really no reason. And her fertility doctor was actually the person to suggest some um, hypnosis, some hypnotherapy. And what she was able to uncover was that she had a traumatic she was sexually abused by a babysitter as a young child, and this came out, and she had no recollection. But just in case you're wondering if that's, or if that like could really happen, she was able to confirm with her parents through things that she said when she was under hypnosis. They were able to collaborate and confirm that she had no memory of, and so they were able to corroborate this event in her life, and she did go on to get pregnant. So in my case, I had a long history of sexual abuse growing up, and part of my healing was to address that through talk therapy, through acupuncture, through Reiki, through a number of different things, so that I could move forward and I could heal my body enough to get pregnant as well. So it's not just the present moment. A lot of people spend a lot of time stuffing that 800-pound gorilla back in his cage, thinking that it's not having any effect on their body, and they're going through infertility, or they have autoimmune issues, any number of things, as you know. So,
Yes, I'm actually that's the next certification I'm getting accreditation is EMDR. Um,
okay,
because trauma inserts itself in so many different ways. That's so
right.
interesting, and it can be subconscious and you don't know it. You have no
Yeah.
idea how, and it'll present. It will always present. It has to come out. So I really appreciate that view, and I think visualizing as well, imagining something how you want it and not as it is so important. In my coaching alone, I
Yes.
just say what you're seeing is not how it's going to be. I want you to see it, see yourself holding a baby, see yourself, make doing a nursery.
Absolutely.
It's getting you in that sort of high vibration of, just because I see this, I have to get to the place where it's going to happen, where I'm going to make it happen. So
Right.
my curiosity, and I think the listeners are going to really love this, is tell us about these products to stay away from and what it is that they do that contribute to infertility.
Oh my goodness. So, deep breath.
I'm going to be
um,
sad. I know I'm going to be sad. My Japanese cherry blossoms going out the door. Not that I'm trying to get pregnant. I mean, I have grandchildren now, but it's still,
sure.
I want to know what's not good for me. I'm all about the holistic and
Yeah.
homeopathic. So this is good to know.
Yeah. The bad news is that those products are full of hormone and endocrine disruptors. And whether you're listening and you're trying to get pregnant or you're not, you have hormones going on. So these things are contributing both to infertility and then, hot flashes. I have clients that have terrible night sweats 4 hours after they go to bed. Why does that happen?
Yes. I was
Okay,
going to
I'm gonna
ask
tell you
you
why that happens.
I was going to ask
Yeah,
you about menopause, because I'm in the thick of
right?
it, and I'm just, someone said it the other day, another female over 50 like me. She said, I am my own summer season. And that's what it feels like. So this is so good, that not only the infertility, but also the older women with the hormone imbalances. So yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the single biggest impact today that you can have to change your exposure to toxins is your laundry products. I'm going to start there. Okay. This is all free information. Go to ewg.org They have um, a website, they have an app as well. Um, these things aren't perfect. As far as I know, when I last checked, they were still a viable, unadulterated source. And I say that way because sometimes these nonprofits get influenced, get bought out, or get paid to give better ratings. So EWG.org is it's just a carousel of different toxins. So there's everything on that website, but they have a database called Skin Deep. And that's where you can find toxicity ratings on your personal care products and your household products. So the reason that I say the single biggest impact that you can have on your hormones and your endocrine disruptors is your laundry products is because EWG gives 85% of all conventional laundry products a D or an F rating.
What?
Yes,
All.
85%. So I would love to tell you, well, you can go to the shelf and you can across the board buy brand A, and brand A is clean and they will always, be transparent on the labels. That's not the case. Even better brands, um, my least favorite greenwashing brand is Mrs. Meyer's. Sorry to call them out, but people are paying for marketing. They're no better than soft soap. And I'm sorry, I'm going to start soapboxing, and now I'm squirreling around here with you.
Don't
But
worry about
let's
it.
go
Keep
back to
going. Keep
yeah,
going.
let's go back to laundry products. So D or an F rating. So you want to get a laundry product that's not just a free and clear, but because all that means is that they put masking agents in to cover the chemical smell, and it's not a fragrance that we recognize, but it's still fragrance. And they have eliminated the dyes. So you want a better brand. Seventh Generation is pretty good. Some of their products, not all laundry products. You want to throw that fabric softener away. Um, it has it has terrible chemicals in it that are quatramines, that are known asthenogens. Um, Dryer sheets replace with wool dryer balls, and if you want some fragrance, you can add some essential oils to that. But these laundry products, we are in our clothes or on our sheets 23 and a half hours a day. Okay. So that 30-day freshness for you means that that chemical is breaking down on your skin all day while you're wearing it, all day while you're sleeping on it. That 30 days of freshness, those laundry beads, those dryer sheets, that smell sticking with the fabric is breaking down against your skin, and that causes free radicals, and free radicals cause damage to your organs.
Wow. Wow. There's so much to
Oh,
this.
yes, we could do a whole nother show on this.
And I
So,
think we just
um,
might. Oh my gosh. Is there a specific chemical that is like the top number one thing we want to avoid when looking at ingredients in soaps and perfumes and lotions and detergents? Anything specific?
yeah. So for a number of different reasons, I think if I had to pick one, triclosan would be the number one that I would pick. That would be tied with fragrance. Synthetic fragrance can contain up to 1,300 chemicals under the proprietary labeling of fragrance.
Oh my goodness. All that we don't even know. We don't even know. Such a
Yeah.
simple thing that we think, oh, no big deal. This is what we're doing. We're
You're
inserting this.
poisoning your organs. Yes.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So you mentioned some alternatives. So if you do, you want to talk more about the lotions and the perfumes, and then we'll go into some alternatives.
Yeah, so personal care products are pretty much the same as your laundry soap, your dish soap, your hand soap. You want to avoid products with triclosan, with phthalates, and with parabens, and with fragrance, because again, that synthetic fragrance has up to 1,300 independent chemicals. So if you're trying to replace those products, you can't just replace them with things that are labeled organic without the USDA organic seal. Although there are some brands that fall under that umbrella that have the name organic in it that are better. But really, if you could get rid of dye and fragrance just alone, that's going to help you tremendously. And then look for things that are triclosan free, phthalate, and paraben free.
Nice. I've got all of those written down. Like triclosan, phthalate, and paraben free.
Hmm.
Wonderful. Oh my gosh, that's just such wonderful information. How about the foods? Let's go into our
Yeah.
nutrition. Let's see what we're doing, what we're doing in our
Yeah.
nutrition. And I think I'm super guilty about the processed foods and the sugars. I know
Yeah.
that's kind of a go-to. People know. What else? What else are we doing that's really causing all this breakdown as well in our systems?
Yeah. So this is kind of a bridge between topics because triclosan is an antibacterial and it's in antibacterial soaps. It's a gut health killer. And so the thing that if you're struggling with infertility, focusing on good gut health and again, like you mentioned, avoiding a lot of those highly processed foods is going to give you a good start. Um, Sorry, I had a thought. I was like trying to hold on to it while I was talking, but I missed it. Um, oh, I know what I was going to say. Both with your personal care products and your food, and the things that I'm going to mention, what I would say to you, because you can drive yourself crazy really quick, right? This is a process in the making, right? So again, one item a week, one item a grocery trip. When you run out of something, replace it with something better. Keep doing your research. That's how you make these changes. And don't pick the thing that you love the most, right? If you have been using the same mascara for 25 years, don't start with your mascara. You're not going to be happy. You're going to quit everything, right? But if you're indifferent about your body wash, let's do that, okay? Let's just get you a better body wash. The same with like your hair products, right? Because our hair is temperamental. Leave that for last if you're married to those things, but do the things that are easy. Start with the easy things that you don't care so much about. Start with the hand soap, start with the body wash. Any impact that you make is good. It's for the better. It's towards a step towards a healthier version of yourself. And that's the same with food. So what I did is I started with my proteins. So, talking about food, we all know that anything processed is probably not good for us. Can we just agree on that? Right?
100%.
Okay.
Got to preserve it some way, and it's usually chemical.
Right. Right. And it's in the process, the preservatives, the processing of it, if it's a meat or the sauces, that are in these prepackaged and easy foods are are full of chemicals. So as much as you can, um, just as something as simple as meal prepping on your calendar, not even like staying in the kitchen and chopping up a bunch of fruits and vegetables for your week, but just knowing what you're going to have, spending 10 minutes before you go grocery shopping and mapping out your meals. It's literally that easy because what happens is you get off work, you're tired, you're frustrated, you just want to eat something. I don't know what's for dinner. I'm going to go through the drive-through or I'm going to call DoorDash. So just taking that 10 minutes and knowing, okay, I might not want this for dinner, but I have something for dinner and this is what I have mapped out for dinner and I'm just going to go home and it'll be okay. It's like you taking care of your future self because you know that you're going to get to that point where you're going to just want to push the easy button. So, um, again, pick what's easiest. Everybody's diet is so varied. So if you are someone who is a big breakfast person, that's your favorite thing, don't start with that. Make the changes that are easy for you and start by focusing on your proteins, organic milk, organic meats, because again, these are full of hormones. If you're buying conventional meat, if you're buying conventional milk, if you're eating animal products that are not organic, they're full of hormones. And we're looking to eliminate our hormone and endocrine disruptors.
Wow. I'm on board with all of that. All of
Yeah.
that. And I'll tell you, gosh, this is such a great conversation. You're so amazing because you're touching on all of these things that are so broad as well. I know infertility is what we're talking about, but this is such, you're giving us really lifestyle information here. I
Yeah.
have coaching clients that are single parents and they're like, Marina, I don't have time to even cook. We just run through McDonald's. And that's what I tell them. I say, on Sunday, plan out your meals and do a meal planning thing. I used to be one that hated it. I was a single parent of 3 children and I didn't have time and I worked graveyard shift in an ER. I mean, I needed to sleep. I didn't have time for this. And one thing that I hated was cooking. I hated cooking. It was just such a pain. So, here comes the hamburger helper. No joke.
Yeah.
I'm confessing I'm a self-confessed, processed food eater. But what I have discovered, there are so many meal plans, delivery systems out or
Right.
delivery companies right now. And I'm doing a shout out. I am completely doing a shout out. I do Dinnerly and
Okay.
I love it. And it is just pure veggies, pure proteins. Everything is really good. In fact, one of the things when you said the breakfast, one of the recipes I ordered for this week is a coconut chia overnight oats with mango. Does that not sound
That
amazing?
sounds amazing. Yeah.
And you know what I did? Like you said, start small. I started making it fun for myself. It was almost this lifestyle change was I would put on, I'm a crime junkie. So I would put on my crime podcast. And on Sunday morning, that was my thing. I'm gonna make salads for my husband for work all week. I'm gonna, plan these meals out and you can freeze it. I'm just an advocate for Dinnerly, but I've also tried HelloFresh. I've also
Hmm.
tried Green Chef. I've also tried, there was another one I'm not going to um, advise, just like you. It was Factor 75 and the meals were terrible and they were prepared and sent frozen and they were awful. They did not taste good and they were not healthy. And I'm sure there's preservatives in those. But these other ones where it's just this farm fresh produce, you can make it fun. It's how you
Yeah.
view, right? It's how you view these lifestyle changes. I absolutely love what you said. One item per trip, you know,
Yeah.
because I'm sitting here when we mentioned it at the first thing, I was like, oh, I love my
You're
Bath
like,
and Body
oh,
Works.
yeah.
I can't get rid of that. But I
Yeah.
get it. I totally get it. Now, how do they sell a lot of products makeup wise? Because I don't think I've ever seen makeup that was chemical free. Is it just hypoallergenic? Where do we find those types of things?
Yeah, absolutely. There are companies that are clean and free of lake dyes and lead and all the things that are in our makeup as well. So
Okay. What do we look
yeah.
for on the label? Is there something specific or do we just go research online for specific verbiage that we're looking for?
So the chemicals again with the makeup, they're a little bit more specific. I can't rattle off all of the chemical names for you, but there is something called lake dye that is bad. Even the mineral based uh, makeup products are not super clean and contain fragrance and things like that. So
Okay.
um, if we can talk about it offline, if you want a link to drop in to the podcast, I can give that to you. But
Yes.
there's different sorry, there's a few companies is all I'm trying to say. There's a few companies that um, do have really good reputable makeup products
Makeup. Okay,
that work
great.
that work,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Nobody wants to invest a bunch of money into something that is not going to give you good coverage or whatever. So
Isn't that funny how
I'm
we
wearing it today. So,
And she's beautiful, my YouTubers, if you can see
uh,
her. I know everybody else is listening through audio, but yeah, no, you look absolutely fabulous. It's funny that
thanks.
as humans, we think I have to give something up. So when I give something up, then
Right.
I'm losing quality. And actually, we have to look at it as I'm gaining quality health. I'm gaining years on my life. I'm gaining the ability to enjoy my life without these gut problems and the
Hmm.
infertility and the pain and the illness, and even as far as cancer goes, it's really,
Right.
we have to make sure that we're viewing it as we're doing something to help ourselves. So
Yeah.
w- tell me, we've got 15 minutes left, and I want to tap on what is something common that you hear in your own journey, as well as the women that you've coached through their infertility journey, that you find the infertility doctors tend to do that our listeners should be aware of and seek a second opinion or do some extra research for themselves?
Okay. Let me see if I can hold all that in my brain to answer your question. So
Long, it was a
I
big
always,
question.
yeah, yeah. I always recommend that people do seek second opinions on their diagnosis. So many times we just kind of have a loyalty for whatever reason, or maybe that doctor is the only doctor in your area. That was the case for myself. I had to drive outside of my area a good distance, to get a second opinion, and people will use that as a reason not to pursue additional input about their diagnosis. Um, if you have a doctor who's not making any changes to your protocol time after time again, meaning failed IVF or failed IUI procedure, then I would be looking for somebody else to treat you. Um, that's the definition of insanity. That's what we say, right? Doing the same thing
Yes.
over and over again and not experiencing a different outcome. One of the authors in my my book collaboration, she actually had a doctor who she had, like myself, low ovarian reserve. She was able to get a small amount of eggs, and uh, after she had had several failed IUIs, several failed IVF procedures, which included miscarriages with them. Not all failed IVF or unsuccessful IVF includes that, but in her case it did. The doctor said to her, "Why don't we test you for this one thing?" After she had lost the opportunity to use her own eggs. This one thing that he decided to test for after the opportunity was gone ended up being the key to her fertility. And she did end up go on to have 2 children via donor eggs, but all of that could have been prevented. And so, what I strongly, strongly encourage anyone working with a fertility doctor to do is to press them for additional testing. So many women come to me and they say, "I've been tested for everything. I have unexplained infertility. They have no idea what's wrong with me. I've been tested for everything." I have not met a single client who has been tested for everything. There's always something that's missing that has fallen through the cracks and could be the one thing that is preventing you from getting pregnant. Now, in her case, her story is even more profound because, and we haven't touched on this much, but her husband had something called balanced translocation. So it was a male factor infertility accounts for a third of all fertility issues. And so, again, they did a basic sperm analysis. And once that came back as okay, they did this next test after all of her eggs were gone. And then that was the thing. It was something with her husband. And so it's really, this is maybe full circle for us today, Maureen, is you have to make sure and keep a record of what you actually have been tested for and what the results are. And let's make sure that something didn't fall through the cracks. Happened to a lot of other women as well, where it was just a mistest. Um, I think that I answered your question, but I'm not.
Yes,
Yeah,
no, that's great. That's what I wanted. I wanted to help our listeners figure out what to look for, what answers they're getting from their doctors that are not answers. And I think
yeah,
that's great that we did touch on the male side of that because everyone thinks it's the female because she carries it.
right.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. Stay on board with let's test both. And I think what you're saying, a lot of it is get going on it, like do that up front
Yeah,
instead of, like you said, after the opportunities are gone, or, sometimes we age out. Sometimes you do
yeah.
this for 5 years. I'm curious though. I know IVF is in vitro fertilization. What's IUI? I'm not familiar with that.
Um, Interuterine insemination. So that is typically, it used to be associated only with couples that had male factor infertility, but there's been a big push in recent years to try a few rounds of IUI before doing the IVF. And in my case, I could have done that, but the success rates are pretty low, and it's still fairly expensive. And we had done testing with my husband, and his sperm analysis came back fine. So, it's personal choice. But I will say this, that there has been an increase over time in how quickly women are being pushed into artificial insemination, into IVF. And what I would say to that is doctors practice medicine. They're not going to tell you to fix your diet. They're not going to tell you to clean up your gut health. They're not going to tell you to resolve your past trauma. They're not going to tell you, they might tell you that they provide acupuncture. They're not going to tell you, probably not, to decrease your stress, which is a whole separate conversation that we might be able to do in 5 minutes, is the whole just relax and it'll happen. There's actually a physiological component to that, but they practice medicine. It's reproductive medicine using pharmaceutical drugs to get you pregnant. None of these other things that we're talking about today come into play. They might even tell you that it doesn't matter. But if you have leaky gut and you have toxins leaking into your bloodstream and that's affecting your liver and your kidney, it's going to affect your hormones. It matters.
Yes. Hormones affect everything, and everything that
Yes.
affects the hormones is going to affect the ability to get pregnant. Love
Yeah.
that. I absolutely love that. And what I love is just like life coaching, we're opening up the mental awareness world. There's also these homeopathic doctors now and holistic doctors, which
Right.
I'm so happy
Yes.
that we're welcoming that. If we can get the government on board and help these things be covered with insurance, that would be fabulous, but they can't be regulated. Hence, myself, I don't take insurance because of that fact. I don't want to be
Right.
regulated. I have outside of the norm box ideas that really work. And so, unfortunately, until we get the government to understand they can't regulate it, just like they can't regulate medical marijuana and that
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
thing. They're trying. But I definitely suggest, and especially working in the field for so long, I knew a lot of homeopathic doctors and their methods were so fabulous. It's like what you were talking about. And a lot of these homeopathic doctors offer products in their offices.
Yeah.
That was the cool part. I would go in there and I would look at their stuff and I'd go, I
Hmm.
need to get that. I need to get that. So they've done a lot of research and they are on board with it. I completely agree with you that we just need to ask a lot of questions. We're in a world of information and it's available at our fingertips. This is not 1950 where you just so sorry Charlie, this isn't going to happen. This is
Right.
great. People like you and I guys, I would advise get an infertility coach. There's niches for everything, and the fact that you do this specifically to help others from your own experience is amazing. And I like that we have these niches that we know best. That's your wheelhouse. That was your personal experience and
Yeah.
your education. I think that's wonderful. So with 7 minutes to go, there's there's three things I want to ask you.
Okay.
So the first question I always ask is you're downtown in your city and there's 100,000 people marching behind you and you have a banner. What's on your banner? What does your banner say, Erica?
Just because a doctor tells you that you can't get pregnant, or just because a doctor tells you they can't help you, doesn't mean you can't get pregnant.
Yes. Yes. I mean, that's a hopeful
Yeah.
statement. That is a
Yeah.
hopeful
Be
statement.
empowered. Yeah. Be
Yeah.
empowered
And
that your
that's,
body is
yeah,
capable.
right. That's be empowered that your body is capable. I
Yeah.
love that you just said that. It's these mantras we have to tell ourselves, believe it as if it has already happened. Do not accept the reality, accept what you believe can happen and envision it. So I love that.
Yeah.
So obviously the name of the podcast, I never knew. So in summary, what did you never know that you know now?
I never knew that you have to advocate for yourself in the medical community in order to have the health and wellness that you deserve.
Yeah. Yeah. We never knew. We didn't
Yeah.
how would we know? We grew up a lot of us in a generation, I'm much older than you, I'm certain. I grew up in a generation where it was just, doctors were so trusted in what they said was law. And really, medicine is a elimination process. That's all it is. They're
Right.
only going to do the things that eliminate. That's what diagnosing is we're going to figure out what it's not necessarily what it is. And we're going to keep going until we figure out what it is. And so I'm not downing the medical community. Like you said, I'm not anti-medication. I just think there's so much more, just like I think there's more to traditional psychiatry, therapy, and
Mhm.
counseling with life coaching. Obviously, it's where
Yeah.
my belief system is. So that's really great. That's
Symptom management. We have to remember it's symptom management.
yes.
Yeah.
Symptom management. Ooh, that's really, really good. It's hard though for us as we want answers, that's
Yeah.
just how we're wired. It's like I have all of these symptoms, but I want a name for what I have. And I think I'm really that way. I don't know about you, but tell me what it is so I can figure out how to manage my symptoms. But I feel like I need a name. It's always been so frustrating, medical wise. Just they're doing this just like endometriosis, that you have to go to this cutting me open and
Mm.
causing the cause and the effect, which is worse. I also have RA, and those medications are crazy scary. I refuse to go
Mhm.
on some of those medications. When you watch those commercials,
Oh, yes.
oh, and they're like, may cause this, may cause neoplasm of this, may cause cancer
Right.
of this, you know what, I'll just be sore. I'll
Yeah.
just I
Yeah.
will just move. I have a hot tub, I'll do that. I'll eat better, and now I know I can eliminate some chemicals. That's going to help me, I
It's
think,
totally going to help you.
especially with arthritis, because you're
Yeah.
really soaking that into your skin, your joints,
Yeah.
all of that, your blood stream.
Yeah.
So much great information. And my last question is always fun, and it's always so enlightening and interesting to me what people say. What is your self indulgence, your guilt free self indulgence that you do for yourself?
Oh my goodness. I have 4 wild little boys at home. I don't have very much self-indulgence. And in case you missed it, um, hmm, I'm not a big, like, super big sweets person. I do like some dairy-free ice cream. More
Hey,
more nights more nights than I probably should,
uh,
for a snack. So,
uh,
yeah, I love doing that. I love, tree climbing. So, like, adventure course tree climbing. So if I'm gonna have some extra time to myself, I'd like to sometimes get out and go climb a tree like a squirrel, so
how fun. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to just say hashtag boy mom. You're
Oh, yeah.
fabulous. I had one. I had one. He has ADHD, and that was way more than it was a lot, but
Yeah.
he's fun, and we call him Squirrel. Tree climbing. How fabulous.
Yeah.
And I'm going to coach you for just 1 second. When you
Oh yeah.
say, I don't do a lot of self-indulgent
Oh, I
things,
know.
and
I
you
know.
said, I don't have a lot of time, I'm going to do my life coaching moment. You take that time, girl. You schedule that time, especially as a boy mom. Whew, you need a spa day. You need a day of just relaxing and just getting away because you
Mhm.
deserve it. How old are your boys?
So I have a 13-year-old, I have 11-year-old twins. Again, no reproductive technology there. They were born at 39, and my last son was born when I was 43. He's getting ready to be 7 next week. So now you know how old I am. So
Oh my goodness. Okay,
yeah.
13 twin 11-year-olds
Uh-huh.
and a soon to be 7-year-old.
Yeah.
Wow. How fun though. It must be so
Yeah.
fun in your house. Just
Yeah.
activity, constant activity, a lot of
Yep.
sports and craziness.
Yep.
How different are all of them? I love asking this question.
Oh, couldn't possibly be more different and still be brothers and still be related.
Isn't that
All
crazy?
totally different. And the twins are yin and yang. Totally. Like literally mirror twins, complete opposites. Again, couldn't be more opposite and still be brothers. And they're twins. Yep.
Wow, identical.
Nope, they're fraternal. One's a pitcher, one's a catcher. They love baseball, but other than that, totally opposite.
Oh my gosh, my husband's an identical twin.
Oh wow, okay.
So yeah, I just think it's so interesting, how different all of our children can be. I have three and I have three grandkids, and it's just amazing. You look at them and you say, how is this possible that you
Sure.
guys, especially when they're adults, wait till they're adults, girl. Woof,
Yeah.
you're going to go, wait, did you all come from the same family? Like, was I a different person with each one of you raising you? But no, it's just they are who they are. They came here to be who
Yeah.
they are. And how fabulous. Well, I'm so happy that you shared your story with us. Tell us where we can find you, where we can find your book, where we can go seek out some infertility coaching from you. Give us all of it. Give us the rundown.
Yeah. So the easiest place to go is my Instagram account. And that is the infertile mom of four,
The infertile mom of four, the number four or the word four?
the number four.
Infertile mom of four at Instagram, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my website is just my name. It's Erica with a C, Hoke, Hoke. I keep saying I need to change my last name to Hope, but it's
Oh,
like Hope, but with a K, ericahoke.com. You can find information in there on my course, which is Accelerate Your Fertility Boot Camp, which is a 12-week course where we do a deep dive basically on the topics that we covered today, and get you on a path of healing and empowerment. And then the book's available on Amazon. It's available at Target. It's Infertility Success, Stories of Help and Hope for Your Journey. And I just want to add, it's a very unique project. It was a humbling experience to publish it. Each chapter has a QR code in the back where you can connect with that chapter's author. And there's free resources for every one of those stories. So if you connect with that person and you want to know more, they have a resource available to you. So that's just chock full of great information. And we set it up as both story and cautionary tales. So just like we did today, as the chapters unfold, there are tips at about what we wish we had known. There we go. Full circle
yeah.
moment. What we wish we had known in that moment, looking back in hindsight. So we really wanted to make the most impact. And we all said that if we help just one person with sharing our stories, that would be worth the effort of putting the collaboration together.
That is why you are synchronized here with me today, because
Yep.
that's the goal. I want to be the voice my younger self needed for everyone else out there. And I feel that's why we go through these life experiences. So that is wonderful, wonderful stuff. I thank you so much for being here, Erica. You're just a
Thank you.
beautiful soul and so much information that's really going to get. I love the hope thing. I'm so jealous. Like, if I could say my last name is like hope. I love that. So that is super amazing. Guys, that's the end of our podcast today. If you want to go find me, you have any comments on this podcast or need to reach out to Erica, I can help you out with that as well. And I am at lifecoachmaureen.com. My books are also available on Amazon. My dog is more enlightened than I am, and my dog is my relationship coach. So go check those out. It helps you to learn to live your path, your true authentic self, and using the examples of our dogs and their unconditional love. I also have a big announcement coming soon. By the time this podcast comes out, I'm hoping it will be out, and I think Erica will be happy. I'm following sort of in the lines of the healthy stuff only with dogs. So no chemicals, no preservatives, none of it, but I'm going to help out our canine friends. And so that's coming, guys. And I'll announce all of that when my store goes live. So thank you all. And I'm so happy that you're here. Leave a 5-star review, share this, subscribe. Let's build this community more and more and more to help one another. All of these different wonderful guests that I have so much information to share, and they're so kind to share this with you and give you information you would not otherwise have. So, for I Never Knew podcast, thank you all and have a fabulous day, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you.